Hey, how's it going, y'all? Welcome back to the Gil Podcast. This podcast is about me, Gil, and the things that I'm currently obsessed with. On today's podcast, I want to talk about uphill and downhill habits. But before I get into that, I want to talk about this event that I just was a part of. This was a 5K event for kids' mental health. It was for an organization that's called the Change Me Foundation, founded by Jarvis. They're located in South Florida, but I'm pretty sure they go all around. But I got this opportunity by doing a gig with a client, somebody who is an industry professional. This person's a doctor, so they needed a few clips for their social media. And I'm like, sure, come by and, we can do some content. We did like a content day. Actually, we did 2 content days. And this person liked my vibe. They're like, yo, you're really cool. By the way, you live really close to this event that I'm going to in a couple of days. I'm like, sure. Okay, cool. Like that's awesome. That sounds cool. And they got me this gig and it was a great opportunity. I got to be a part of this great experience. It was fantastic. Only issue that I had was that it was super duper early in the morning, around 6 a.m. and the humidity at 6:15 a.m. I took a photo of this, screenshot, was 92%. It's hot. That's hot. But it's one of those things where I'm just like, wow, I got an opportunity because of proximity or because of I have this ability to help people or have this knowledge and skill. And it put me in a room, metaphorically, theoretically speaking, with someone, and I'm able to just do something really amazing. And I tell people all the time, if you can say yes if you can. If you can't, if you don't have the capacity, if you are tired, or if you don't know how to do it, or if you're not, you just don't have the time, don't do it. But if you can do it and you're not willing to do it, I say just try it. And this is the thing that I want to talk about too, because I brought this up to a creator friend of mine who has been dealing with not getting gigs or not putting themselves out there or not doing podcasts or just not creating in general. And my whole advice was, if you have the time, if you have the resources, if you have the knowledge, the experience, and you're not willing to do it, but you can do it, I say just try it. But if you don't have the time, if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the knowledge, don't attempt. You're going to be you're already digging a hole, to another path that you're probably going to. And now you're just going to get out of that hole and start digging another hole, wasting time and wasting resources and burning yourself out. Do the things that you really would like to do, or that's going to challenge you to push you into the right direction. And that's another thing, I should rephrase that. Instead of saying doing the things that you would like to do, because the things that you would like to do sometimes aren't really the best for you. And the things that you need to do really are, and they are very, very tough to tackle. So I just really wanted to talk about that. And there's this guy named John Maxwell. He's a speaker, author, writer. I've seen a few of his quotes. I've read a couple of his interviews. I've listened to a few of his videos and stuff. And there's this term he has used a couple of times that I've heard, and he calls it the climb, or everything worthwhile is uphill. And I heard it maybe 2 years ago. I heard this speech 2 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. And I re-listened to the speech. I do this a lot. I'll listen to a podcast. It would resonate with me. And, I have YouTube Premium, so I can just download it and just listen to it anytime. And I was somewhere where there was super no signal there. So I couldn't really just listen to a new podcast or music. So I just went to my YouTube app and opened up the app and went to my downloads section of the app. And I listened to some podcasts or videos that I downloaded. And this was one of those videos. And him talking about everything worthwhile is uphill. And I made a podcast episode about this a couple of times, and how every single time we try to do something, it gets really hard. We just stop. That's even me. Like I'm guilty of that. Like everything we try to do, oh, well, that's too hard. Like I remember when I got into biking and I started cycling with my friend Jake, and he was trying to train me up to like join this bike team. I'm still am a member of the bike team, just haven't rode in forever. And we would like ride. I think we started with maybe like a 10-mile loop. We did like an easy 10 miles. Then it was like a 14-mile. And then, sooner or later I'm noticing, we're doing like 20 miles. This is kind of a lot. And I would just not want to push myself any further. I would literally hear myself speak to myself. Yeah, we're good. You've burned enough calories. Let's turn back. He's crazy. He's nuts. Stay away from him. Let's go home. You have a wife. Go home. You need to save energy because you got to work tomorrow. Because I just kept coming up with excuses. And the issue was we were like maybe 30 plus miles away from where we parked our cars. And I would have to bike to my car anyway. So, Jake started like rationalizing with me, we have to bike back anyway. We're already out here. Let's continue. And I'm like, no. And he's like, dude, just pedal. Just pedal. And I'm like, okay, pedaling. And we're pedaling. Dude, just keep going. Just keep going. And then I'm just like, you know what? I'm already out here. All I have to do is keep going. And I kept going, and I got this whole second wind thing. And to me, this is, I know it's kind of crazy to say. I was thinking about recording this episode, and being married to my wife is like the best experience ever. Every day is something new. I get to learn and love her every day. It's great. So I'm not saying that is next to that, but getting that second wind took me back to high school when I was in wrestling, or when I was in this fight club, where you just get this energy that was just, oh, you want me to, okay, I'll wake up, and you get this beast, and you just feel so alive. It was one of the best feelings ever. And it was because I decided to fight myself, or defeat my mind mentally, and push myself beyond my quote unquote limits, that I was able to do that. And I'm able to bike comfortably for long periods of time now. No, I don't get that euphoric feeling anymore, because I know that I can do it. But it's when you beat the odds, that's the best feeling. It just feels so good, and I want that for everybody. But the sucky thing that happens is, what ends up happening is you beat the odds, you do the thing, you say yes to talking to that guy, you say yes to talking to that girl, you say yes to sending that client that proposal, submitting your resume, you fight those voices in your head, and then you don't do it again ever. I would beat the odds, put my body through so much, trauma and stress and anxiety, and then I don't go riding for a while. I beat the odds and fight that nervous tick and make a YouTube video, and it gets a lot of views, lots of engagement. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't get any engagement at all. And I don't do another YouTube video again. And it's like that drive, that it took so much energy to go climb that hill, or just push myself further. All of that work amounts to nothing now that I'm pretty much coasting. Like when you're riding a bike, you ride, pedal, 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 and then you're just coasting. But you can keep going. That hard work you took, if you could just drop some nuggets in there slowly. So slowly pedal, and you could continue from that previous momentum. This illustration or metaphor kind of works if you know how riding a bike works. I'm pretty sure most human beings in the world have ridden a bike. So, you ride a bike, you put so much effort into it, and then you're riding. And then at some point you can pretty much coast, but eventually you're going to stop. And the one thing that I've noticed is, for me at least, I'll literally go hard, ham, super hard, like just go and then coast. But the momentum that I did and the trajectory that I did would kind of propel me a lot further, a lot farther away than most people. And then I coast. And then basically almost back to where I started. I vividly remember in 2013 watching some videos on YouTube. I just recently got a camera. This was the Nikon J1. This was it's a micro four thirds camera, just super tiny. It had all the bells and whistles for a camera that I would use now, but I had no idea how to use it. So I would go on YouTube and I would learn some of the basics. I was so intimidated. If you ever use the camera, you'd see the fraction 1/50. Oh my gosh, math. Oh no, what is this? And I remember vividly watching a video about just learning the difference from full frame, medium format, full frame, crop sensor, and then there's like the micro four thirds, and then the phone sensor, and then the math that was involved. I was so turned off. Jared Polin, fronosphoto.com. He's the YouTuber that I was watching. That's his tag. That's his little slogan thing that I just said there. So for somebody who's like, what the hell did you just say? Or try to rewind it. But Jared Polin had this video talking about the sensor sizes, and I was intimidated because if you're using a full frame lens on a crop sensor camera, there is a bit of math involved to understand what the focal length now is. So, like, for example, if I'm using a full frame 50 millimeter lens and I want to use it on a Canon camera, that 50 millimeter is now basically a 70 millimeter. I think it's because I want to say the crop factor is I think it's 1.7. So I think the crop factor for one of the cameras is 1.7. So if you take a 50 millimeter camera, so you take 50 times 1.7, it gives you 85. And then there was the crop factor for micro four thirds, because a micro four thirds camera is really small. So then what I think it was like, if you have an 18 millimeter lens, it's not really an 18 millimeter lens. I think the crop factor for a micro four thirds is like 2.1 or 2.3. So that 18 millimeters is really like a 35, 37 millimeter lens or something like that. And it was so annoying to me because if I buy a camera, I want it to be that. I don't want to do math. I don't want to think about it. That was my mentality. 2013. I mean, I just got into this hobby. I'm trying to find the cheapest way in, trying to conserve money. I don't want to like annoy my wife and say, we got to buy this, got to buy that. And I don't even understand it yet. I was immediately annoyed and I put my camera away. And at that point I said, well, I go to work, I come home, I go to the gym, hang out with friends. I don't have anything for myself. I would really love to get to this hobby. And it might take me forever to learn and understand this, but that's a hill that I'm willing to climb. And then I learned photography, that I started shooting, understanding shutter speed, understanding that, my sensor is small. That's why the lighting that's why it's pretty dark and I need video light. So I bought like halogen bulbs and things from eBay, with these super horrible color balance lights. And then it's just buying those things and practicing, contacting people on Craigslist, dealing with clients or people and talking to them. Like, I didn't want to deal with people. I just want to take pictures. I want to pay a beautiful model, book them, have them come to my location and take pictures and not say a word. Like, dude, that's not possible. That's creepy. I have to deal with my social anxiety. I have to talk to people. I have to literally look at a model and have a personality and be myself and learn how to be myself and learn that be myself is okay. It's okay to be have puns and be sarcastic and be jokey because people want to be comfortable. So this is weird. I do not recommend this in 2024, but I would go on Craigslist, I don't think you can even post for free on Craigslist anymore, but I'll go on Craigslist and post, hey, looking for a model to take some photos, and, I think I paid like $50 just so I can learn. I was paying these models like, hey, I'm $50, 1 hour of your time. Here's the location. And then I would show previous photos of people that I've worked with. But the issue is now, like with AI, you can just fake anything. So I do not recommend women or men doing this at all. But this battle, what this taught me was you have to fight it. And my wife, of course, logically speaking, because this is stupid. Don't ever do this. Bringing like strangers into your home or meeting strangers at a studio space. So depending on the person, I would bring them over to my home or to bring them to like a beach, a studio space, a coffee shop, and we'd do a shoot there. But after, I think I had one model who was a twin, and she was beautiful. Her sister twin was beautiful. So I said, hey, can I get you both? And they just willingly came over to my apartment at the time. And we just did a photo shoot. And then we went to the beach, we went to the park. We made it a whole day and they got amazing photos. I got to practice, and I slowly was getting over my social anxiety and basically learning that, hey, you can be yourself. You can talk to strangers and people. And I had to climb that hill. And that helped me communicate with clients now. That helped me, like, I can look at the most stunning, beautiful model and talk to them regularly and ask of them, hey, quick question. Can you like smile a bit more? Like make a joke, whatever, not be sarcastic, not make them feel uncomfortable. And I just learned that, but I had to climb that hill. I had to put myself in these compromising positions, so to speak. I do not recommend this at all. Do not do that. But that's what I did. And I still have a relationship with these people now. And bringing people over my home and understanding I have to have some sort of discernment on who I am inviting over, that taught me to basically peruse through their social media, see who they're communicating with, ask of them, hey, I know this is a very weird situation, but please do not bring your friends, or this is not a really hangout session. This is like my dwelling place. I also create here. This is just a dwelling and a creative space, not a hangout session. No, you can't smoke, but I had to learn how to do that. And this is not saying that you have to do this, but I'm just letting you know that you have to put yourself in these small trailer beta testing, like these beta testing scenarios. So when the real situation happens, you know how to navigate. Like it's like a fire drill. And that has helped me tremendously. After that, I can go to a photo shoot. If I'm like confused on like my camera settings, I know how to, it's not really small talk. It's more so model came in with polka dots versus stripe. So I guess you're a polka dot person. Oh yeah, oh my gosh, like people hate polka dots. Oh, me too. And while they're doing that, I'm deleting, formatting my SD card, adjusting the settings. But before, I would literally be drenched in sweat explaining, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't make enough space on my SD card and I didn't do that. I'm like, nah, it's fine. We're cool. We're chilling. But it's because I had those uphill moments where I basically raced up the hill. Now I'm coasting in the photography space. Now I'm coasting in the content creation space when dealing with strangers, dealing with men or women that I don't necessarily know in a creative capacity. I know how to handle that because I'm coasting, baby. I'm basically coasting. And every time I do a podcast with someone, I'm basically pedaling. Like, the analogy where you pedal, then you coast and you just pedal every once in a while just to keep it going. Me creating a podcast with strangers, with clients, that's me just pedaling away, exercising that muscle and just making it easy for me. So now I can just deal with anybody. I can handle my friends. I can, work with my wife. With marriage, it's a little bit different. because this is not a game. Marriage is not a game. You can't, there's nothing I can get off Craigslist to help with my marriage other than a bed for like my guest bedroom if my wife puts me in the doghouse. But yeah, you do not go to Craigslist and ask for help for your marriage if you're having like uphill battles in your marriage. You have to deal with that in the trenches on the front lines. That's a little bit different. But the thing is about uphill progress, it's very self-driven. And even with weight, health, like it's you. There's nothing else my friend Jake could basically tell me, pedal, 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 but it's me that I have to pedal. And speaking of Jake, he basically was one of the first people to actually was my first photography mentor. And he taught me a lot. And we would go out around the neighborhood, Fort Lauderdale area, a downtown area, Los Olas. If you're familiar with the area, you know, we even went to Miami, Wynwood area, and we just would peruse and would find dope spots, take pictures and practice. We had our other friends who were interested in photography come out with us, and we just made it a thing. And it was every day we learned, every day we watch a YouTube video. So we study the video. What do you think? How do you think they captured this? And it just became uphill, uphill, uphill to the point where now we're not photography masters, but we're coasting. If we wanted to capture a photo of a product, we can. We understand the science, the placement of the products and everything, and we practice every once in a while. But you have to have those uphill moments so that way when, I would never forget this, I was doing a photo shoot with Rick Ross. I've probably said this before plenty of times. This is like one of my favorite moments in life. And before I tell the Rick Ross story, there's this gentleman named Dan Benjamin. And Dan Benjamin, he has a podcast called The Podcast Method. So this is like around 2013, 2014. I'm dabbling in photography and podcasting or learning how to do podcasts. 2014, I uploaded my first podcast episode, and it was called The Listener. Again, I would find people on Craigslist and ask them, hey, do you want to be on a podcast? I'm just testing it out. And I would literally ask people to podcast. And I know I'm like all over the place. Tom Buck recently celebrated his 10 years of podcasting. And after listening to it, I'm like, yeah, I've been podcasting for like 10 years as well. Since 2014, where maybe a little earlier than that, but still, I've been in the space consistently watching it grow and evolve. And so anyways, I'm learning about podcasting. I'm learning about different equipment. I'm learning about all of these stuff, and I'm getting equipment. I'm getting this and that. And my whole thing is all about like eliminating friction, which is a term that I've learned from Tom Buck, but it's not something that I learned how to do from Tom Buck, if that makes sense. It's like one of those things where if somebody this is a horrible example. If somebody's naturally twerking, if this woman is like twerking, you know, her backside, her butt, and somebody's like, oh my gosh, you twerking, girl. And the girl is from, you know, from some other country. Like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, that's called twerking. Oh, I've been doing this my whole life. And my family's been doing it. We didn't know it's called twerking, but you call it twerking? Okay, cool. It's just one of those things where I've always been eliminating friction in my creative space, in my everyday life, finding not shortcuts or fast ways of doing things. I'm doing air quotes here, but it's different ways of doing things and finding alternatives to things. That has always been like innately for me. And especially when you grow up in a space where it's not really feasible to buy, you know, a gaming PC. It's not feasible to buy consoles or a bunch of games and buy a bunch of games. So you download ROMs and emulators. It's not feasible to go to your parents and ask them for a bunch of quarters. So you build a fighting game system. And I would use, what was the name of the thing? It's called Mugen. And I'll build a Mugen game where I put all the fighting game characters that I know, Mortal Kombat, Simpsons, Street Fighter, and make them all fight each other. And you bring friends over. You have controllers that you bought from the swap shop, the thrift store, and you play. So there's always been these things where I'm met with a obstacle and I find a solution or I find a way to get that thing, if not that thing or something better. And with podcasting, I've felt and loved right into it to the point where I wouldn't say that I'm a master, but I'm coasting. So let's get back to the Rick Ross story. I did the photo shoot with Rick Ross with a friend of mine. I was a second photographer on this shoot, so I wasn't the main photographer. And after the shoot, everything went well. The manager for the shoot or the director of the shoot said to Rick Ross, "Hey, we have a thing with these ad companies. We were supposed to record an audio segment for the radio or something that they wanted to use for the product that Rick Ross was planning to launch." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you guys don't have like a recording area?" I'm thinking you might have a recording studio, but the thing is, most people, they're very professional and proficient at the thing. Like Rick Ross recording studio or the person who records with him, they, I know it sounds crazy, but they know how to record music. They don't necessarily know how to record talking videos or a commercial ad. That their studio's meant for just music, and that's what they do. They're not going to do anything else. Well, then there's Gil, who's a master, I would say a master, but who has a lots of interests and loves lots of different things. So I had my MacBook Air and I told Rick Ross, "Hey, speaking to my iPhone, I'm going to airdrop it to my MacBook Air, open up Audacity, clean it up, and I'm going to airdrop it back to you." And he read the ad. The manager gave him a prompt. I whipped out my MacBook Air at the time, a 2000, I think a 2012 MacBook Air, and had like maybe 256 gig hard drive, maybe not even that. Rick Ross read the script and I whipped it up in Audacity. I had some presets that I already made for podcasting, getting a nice EQ'd, and I airdropped it back to him and he was like, "Whoa, yo, man, this dope, this good, it's good, it's good." So they read another ad and said, "Okay, can you fix it up for Target?" And we were running out of time. So then I just told him, "Hey, read the ad one more time and then say available at." So he read the ad. "Hey, this is this product and this is available at such as," I think he read the ad like, "Hey, this is Rick Ross, the biggest boss. And if you want to get such and such like me, get this product at," and then I just stopped the recording there. And then I had him say different brands, Marshalls, Dillard's, Chipotle. I had made him say like a bunch of different brands that he was working with actually, and that this product will be available at. And then I compiled them together and I gave him like 5 or 6 different recordings and sent it to the manager. And they were just through the moon. Nothing ever happened after that. I mean, I wish I could tell you. And then I became Rick Ross podcast engineer. Nope, nothing. It just was one of those things where, hey, that was very convenient. And that was simply because I had those uphill moments where I put myself against the wall. I had a lack of equipment, lack of experience. So I said, what do I have in front of me? How can I learn and leverage the thing that I have to make it work? And I used an iPhone 7 Plus. Like that was like, it had to be iPhone 7 Plus. I think so. I know it was like an old phone. So, and he spoke right into it with the recorder app and the voice recorder app. And I just airdropped it to my computer. And just was one of those things where it's like, if you don't put yourself at these moments, if you don't put yourself in those hard moments, when those moments that require you, it's like an RPG, like it's like a video game. I'm getting super excited here. It's like the level that is required, like they need you to be a level 20 to enter this dungeon. And then you're like sitting there at level 7. And then you just get up there to like level 20 and then you forget about it. You just forget about that dungeon. Or another dungeon pops up and they say, hey, we want you to enter the dungeon, but you have to be a level 12. Wait, you already like passed now. You're already like a high level person. So you could enter the dungeon and then not only enter it, but since you're like a level 20, you kill it. Like you walk over it. And that's what I felt like. I was like, this is like I'm a level 20. what you're asking me to do is like a level 5 challenge. Like this is nothing to me. And it felt great. It just kind of goes back to just uphill grinding. In the RPG gaming world, they call it grinding. So you have to like grind, you have to put yourself to those predicaments, and it's great. So yeah, I just kind of want to leave you out with that. Don't stress yourself out, but think about the thing that you want to do, and think about the thing that you have to do to get the thing that you want to do. Like I really wanted to learn how to podcast. I really wanted to learn how to do photography. So when a beautiful woman comes out of the store and I have my camera with me, I can just say, "Hey, you look great. Mind if I take a photo of you and send it to you?" And I can do that. And there's like a whole different thing too, because it's like I could take the photo and then I tell them, "Oh no, wait, I have to go to my computer." Nope. With my camera set up with my Nikon D750, my Sony A7 IV, even my Sony A7Cs, you have to learn the camera, take the photo, send it to your phone, open up an app like Snapseed, throw a preset on there, and just send it to them. What you learn through that is people love that speed. People love that, oh my gosh, this is a professional photo. People love my, I wouldn't say riz or charisma, the comfortability of me just, "Hey, you look great. I'm not going to charge you, but here, have this photo. This is a great moment." And that might lead to something else. That I've done that countless times, and it has led me to a bunch of doors or dungeons that would be maybe like a level 10, but I'm already a level 20. So when I go through that dungeon that they brought me to, I'm like, "Oh, this is nothing. Oh yeah, I saw you. That was a random quest. That was a random encounter. And then you brought me to a dungeon or an opportunity which requires, you want me to do what? A talking head video at a hospital for a doctor? Yeah, sure, I can do that. Here you go. I'm done." And you make it so effortless because you already been through the gauntlet. You've been through the crucible. You've been through worse. And that's just another saying. I got to end this podcast before I start rambling. Like another saying that I say a lot when I'm met with a challenge, even when my wife is, stressed out about a situation, I just whisper, "You've been through worse." Or I say to her, "You've been through worse. Like we've been through worse. We can handle this. This is nothing." All right, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed this podcast episode. If you did, please comment down below, like, subscribe. I have this project that I'm working on, and it's if you're in the Patreon, you already know what it is, and it's almost done. It's almost done. And I'm super excited. This is going to help. I'm using the product now, believe it or not. It's just one of those things. It just helps me be super productive, clear and concise while I'm recording a podcast, while I'm creating videos, while I'm helping people, with their podcasts. So if that's something that you're interested in and you're really excited and you can't wait for it and you want to know what it is, join the Patreon. I'll be sharing more videos and photos about said product and the reason why it exists. And the Patreon is also a great way to support this channel, this podcast. Another way, if you want to support this podcast, is getting my photography word search book. It's on Amazon. I'll also have a link for it in the description below. But if you can go to Amazon, you just type in photography word search book to 250 words. It'll pop up, or you could just search my name, Gil Dormius, and my photography word search book would be right there. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. As before, just giving a shout out to my Patreon subscribers. A shout out to Hassan, who was number 1, who was the first one. I really, really appreciate that. Then there is my wife, and then there's Elle. Thank you so much. Elle, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for joining the squad. Thank you for always sending me questions about podcasting. And while I was recording this episode today, she actually did send me a question about podcast equipment, which I always love. And if y'all are interested in learning more about podcast production and not just want a quick reply like Elle gets, like a hey, and you want to sit down with me for an hour or more, I'm actually headed to a consultation in a little bit. we can always book a consultation, and that'll be fan-diddly-tastic. You get to have my time, and that's a valuable resource. We just pick a day, we just sit down, and we just figure out what it is that you would like to learn about podcasts, photography, anything related to content creating. I do not teach people how to grow a beard or how to do voice impressions. I don't know how to do that. I'm just gifted. So thank you so much for listening. I'll see y'all or hear from y'all on the next podcast. Bye.